When I was 11 years old, a tornado hit my street. I was prepared for this. Every Texas kid is. I see some of you laughing. You remember the drills. You file out into the hallway, you get down on your knees, you put your hands behind your neck to hold yourself from debris while the teacher shush you because you think it's a joke. I remember we'd be elbowing each other, farting, making noises. Teachers would say, "You're gonna regret this one day because it'll be real." Well, that day in Arlington, it was real. I remember stepping outside after the tornado and just looking at my street. Roofs were gone. Walls had caved in. I'll never forget this because it was the strangest thing. There were pieces of living room furniture sets just set in the middle of the street like they were supposed to be there, like they'd always been there. My friend Katie's house, it looked like the Jolly Green Giant had sat down in the middle of her home and then gotten up and walked away. Our neighbors across the street came out of the rubble that used to be their house, and they looked frantic. They couldn't find their dog. In that moment, our entire street converged on that house. Men, women, children, elderly, people I didn't even know, and I'd lived there my whole life. And we dug and we dug. We found that dog. I think at 11 years old, I understood that something really significant was happening, but I didn't quite know what it meant. So I filed it away in the back of my head, and I spent the next 3 decades trying to figure out what that moment really meant to me. Today, I'm a property casualty attorney. I own one of the largest insurance litigation firms in the country. Hi, Mom. What that means, practically, is that I sue insurance companies after big disasters. Whether it's hailstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, I fight to get people what they're owed. I've handled thousands of claims in almost all 50 states, and I have seen it all. I know every trick in the book. I've sat across from insurance actuaries, adjusters, and executives, and I have countered most of them. So you probably think I'm here to talk about insurance. How to understand what to do after a disaster to get what you're owed, to fight back. Here's the thing. Seeing thousands of people in the absolute worst moments of their life, I've come to believe something that I never would have thought was true. The money alone often isn't enough. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, I felt drawn to that city like a moth to a flame. I was still young and had no idea what I was doing, but I knew one thing: I was going to help these people. What I didn't realize is they were going to educate me. You see, the first thing I learned is that Hurricane Katrina was not just a hurricane. It was a complete systemic collapse. The levees failed. The government, federal and local, failed. The insurance companies, and I say this as someone who's documented it extensively, failed. These people were alone. I showed up to a city expecting to find people that had lost all hope, or were just angry. After all, why wouldn't they be? Yet, I watched New Orleans come back to life. They didn't come back to life because the government suddenly showed up, because they sure didn't. They didn't come back because the insurance companies woke up and said, "You know what? Today we're going to do the right thing." Those people waited years for billions of dollars of settlements that never came for some of them, and often when they did come, they weren't enough. This was a city that had every right to be angry, but that's not what I saw. What I saw were church communities rebuilding sanctuaries before they worried about where they were going to sleep that night. I saw people fixing other people's homes, helping gut out their homes, even though their home was still messed up. I saw people who had just lost everything help others who had just lost everything. I saw people come from out of state and even out of country with time, tools, and money that they did not have. That was my moment. That was the entire city of New Orleans coming out to find that dog. That changed me to my marrow, that entire experience. It's why I do what I do now. I didn't become a property casualty lawyer to get rich. I didn't become one so I could beat insurance companies. I actually do like that part though. I became a property casualty lawyer because I wanted to be part of a system that helps people when they're at their lowest lift themselves up to actually recover. Now, I want to tell you something, and I'm going to be honest with you because I think you deserve the truth and not just another inspiring talk. When insurance companies don't pay what they owe after a disaster, the damage is not just financial. Divorce rates skyrocket. The data shows this. Substance abuse rates increase, school dropout rates go up. And in some cases, the worst, but cases I've personally seen, people don't make it. They decide it's not worth fighting for what they were promised, so life isn't worth living. I fight like hell for every client I have. I fight for every cent, every dollar. I file every motion, try every case, take cases to appeal if I have to, because the money matters. It matters that people keep their promises. But it's not usually the settlement check that makes sure that someone recovers. The people that truly recover, that really, truly recover, they have a community. They have people around them. And the ones that don't make it, time and time again, they're the ones that had to face it alone. In 2020, Hurricane Laura made landfall near Lake Charles, Louisiana, and the damage was immeasurable. I'm talking over 100,000 houses affected. Electricity gone, water highly questionable, cell service gone, gas stations gone, grocery stores gone. I came down there and I spent months in the Lake Charles area after the storm. I expected similarly to see a city that had at least had their spirit beaten down a little bit. At least they'd be upset. No, I found the most ferocious, defiant, unyielding community. When I first got there, there were people standing on the street with open grills feeding their entire street, even though their roof was gone. There were churches holding services outside in the Louisiana heat in September next to what used to be their sanctuary. These people do not quit. I met a man who had just lost his home. And let's put it diplomatically, because there are some that would love to sue me. The insurance response was a little slow. He'd lost his home and most of his belongings. So what did he do at this time, do you think? Do you think he spent every day fighting his insurance company to get what he was owed? He sure should have. No. He spent every day helping neighbors, helping patch roofs, muck out houses, help people find places to live, help make phone calls. One day I asked him, "Why do you do it, man?" He looked at me like I was insane. What else would I do? What else would I do? And he was right. Because the thing is, he didn't have the insurance money. In fact, it might never come for him. But what he did have were people. He had a community. He had a way to survive, even when people were breaking their promises to him. I have one more story for you. Lawyers love to tell stories, sorry. After Hurricane Ian, my team and I went down to Florida, and we did disaster relief. There's one thing kind of positive that people don't tell you about disasters. There is always barbecue and a lot of it. I'm not talking hamburgers and hot dogs, that's boring. I'm talking about anything you could imagine: ribs, steak, pulled pork, brisket. And God bless those people, because they make a lot of barbecue and they feed a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have a meal that day. So we're there handing out barbecue, and there's this little boy in line, could not have been more than 6. He was so cute. And we go through the spiel of what we have, and he just starts crying. Finally get out of him, what's wrong? I just want pizza. Bawling. Now you could choose in this moment to judge this child, and some would. You might think he's spoiled, entitled, rotten. You could even innocently judge this child and think he just didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Here's his mom, who just lost their entire house and everything they own, and this kid thinks their biggest issue is what they're going to eat today. But you have to understand something about me first. I come from what a lot of you would call a low-income family. I just call it a family. The way I explain our income level is when the lights went off at home, we didn't wonder why. My working, single immigrant mother fought to take care of us, and she did a great job. And every once in a while, she actually came up with extra money, and we had pizza night. Mr. Jim's. Admittedly, as an adult, maybe not the world's best pizza, but it's still my favorite because I loved pizza night. It was home, it was regular, it was normal. So that night, I'm sitting around with my team, we're having dinner, and I just thought out loud, what if we figured out a way to make pizza out in the middle of a disaster? They went silent. They stopped chewing. I actually think I heard some food hit the plate out of their mouth, right? And I knew what that silence meant. It meant, we're not going to talk you out of this, are we? So we did what every normal, sane law firm in America does. We bought a wood-fired pizza oven trailer and figured out how to make hundreds of pizzas in the middle of a disaster with no running water and no electricity. That boy never got his pizza. And that stuck with me every day. But I'll tell you one thing. I never felt more useful as a lawyer than the first day we pulled into the next disaster with that trailer and started making hundreds of pizzas a day for people that were hungry. And I think that's what showing up after a disaster really is. It's finding your way to contribute. It's a little 6-year-old boy just wanting something normal in one of the worst moments of his life, and someone else thinking that's important enough to figure out how to make happen. But I don't need to tell you guys about that. We're standing here in South Texas. You guys know about hurricanes, you know about baseball-sized hail, you know about tornadoes that do not care who's in the way, and you know about ice storms that take out the power grid for over a week. If it happens, you guys get it. You've been through it. A loved one has been through it. And if for some crazy reason neither of you have, I hate to be the one to tell you, but it's coming. You're going to have a plan. So get an insurance policy, get a good one, read it, understand what it means, and fight like heck for every penny you're owed. But that's not the plan. The people are the plan. So I have 2 asks of you, and they're very specific because I've learned that if you're just vague and inspirational, it doesn't actually change anyone's behavior. They just say great and move on. First, think of one neighbor that you don't know well enough. Go learn their name. Do they have kids? Do they take care of elderly parents? Do they have family members with disabilities? Anything that might make evacuation hard and recovery harder. And just know. Because sometimes the difference in the person that makes it and the person that doesn't is someone cared enough to check. Second, think of an organization, find one, a church, a nonprofit, a disaster relief organization that you can volunteer with before a disaster. Not after, before. Because the communities that recover the fastest are the ones that practice being a community. And remember this, when disaster hits your neighborhood, your city, your street, your house, you will feel like you've lost hope. The scale of it will feel immeasurable. It always does. But here's the thing. I have seen show up anyway. Just show up. Find the dog. Make the pizza. I've spent my career chasing the money, because money does matter. But across hundreds of thousands of checks from insurance companies, I've never looked at one of them and said that is what's going to save them, because it's not. What saved them was the neighbor that showed up with a chainsaw and got the tree off the house. What saved them was the church that turned itself into a distribution center. What saved them was the person watching the news, seeing the disaster, and driving for hours because they decided it wasn't someone else's problem. The storms will come. They always do. But what we get to decide, what we always get to decide, is what we do afterwards. My name's Galen M. I'm from Arlington, Texas, and I'm still looking for that dog. Thank you.